Happy Monday, beautiful people. Welcome to the space for bold conversations, fresh perspectives, and the kind of energy that sets the tone for the entire week. Welcome to Jasiri. Today, we're stepping into a discussion that's stirring reactions from parents, teachers, linguists, and policymakers all across Nigeria. The federal government has made a major U-turn on a policy that affects every classroom, from pre-primary to university. It's a decision touching identity, performance, culture, and the future of learning. And we're all unpacking it. So, of course, we'll get into that with our special guest, Dr. Joy Issa, in just a moment. But before that, let's do something else.
We have something up on our agenda today, by the way. I do have to say, the woman who was kicked out of a Burna Boy show is speaking out finally. Now, at a concert a few days back, Burna spotted a couple who appeared to be sleeping at his show. He stopped the concert and insisted that they leave before he would sing another song. Now, this is how it went down. Take a look.
So when I stand up here and I see you over there with your girl sleeping in front of me, this is you understand? So please take her fast now. Take her home. Bro, I'm not doing no more song until you take her home, bro. Real life. Alright, take it this, bro.
Very sad scene indeed. Now, a woman has come forward identifying herself as the woman that Burna kicked out. Shutu Chatini, going by at nemesis_011 on X. The woman claims that it was an embarrassing and humiliating situation for her and her boyfriend. She goes on to explain what she had been going through in the lead up to the concert night. So let's take a look at her tweet as it rolls up there on the screen. There she goes. I am the girl that was kicked out of the show. I don't even know where to begin, but that was very embarrassing and humiliating to myself and my boyfriend. Burna Boy could have handled that situation better than that. He had no idea what was going on with me, and he didn't even care. I have been mentally, physically, and emotionally drained since my daughter's dad passed away, and I came to his show to put a smile on my face. After everything that has happened, he took forever to come out, and I was tired. We paid to be there, and if I wanted to close my eyes and sleep, I can do that. It is my money that I wasted, not his. And for all of you in the comment section being nasty, how about showing kindness because you never know what someone is going through? Now, there have been reactions, thrilling, all that's unfolded in the past days. I'm going to start with this one and then pass it on to the ladies. This one here says, they paid what looks like a front row ticket. The lady looks high or drunk, but was not unruly or disturbing other fans. Bro, I'm going nowhere. If you like, make you know perform.
I don't understand. Didn't they pay to sit on the front row? Is it part of the terms and conditions that if you sleep, you may be asked to leave? Unless my actions breach set conditions, I won't move until full refund plus inconvenience fee is given to me. I blame the guy for moving, though.
Yeah.
This is weird, actually. I mean, if you look at it properly, they paid to come for the show. They felt tired, probably from a long trip. You really can't blame them per se. And because of two people, you're punishing the rest of your audience. It's even weirder as everyone is pleading they should leave. Allow humans be humans. You can just make jest of them openly and just go about your performance. This is funny. Can guarantee that if that couple was white, he would have minded his own business and kept performing. Ooh. Do we think so?
This one.
I'm glad this never happened in Nigeria. They would have claimed he intentionally took this action because he's in Nigeria. Actually, yes. Rudely embarrassing a fan who spent their hard-earned money to see you perform is wild, especially when they may have come straight from a 12-hour shift. But honestly, I don't even blame the artist anymore. I blame y'all. Guys, I said it when this story first broke. I said, you don't ever know what people are going through. It doesn't take anything for anyone to be kind. When you look at the tickets and where he was, those are obviously front row tickets.
Yeah.
The most expensive tickets that are likely there. And the thing for me is, even if you notice this couple when you're performing, why are you looking at two people versus the hundreds of other people who were excited, who were up and jumping? I just felt it was absolutely unnecessary. Once again, for me, it's just Burna being the Burna we've come to know. And that is behaving badly in some regards.
It doesn't even make any sense to me. I'm mentally trying to process it because I actually thought it was like a publicity stunt. Like maybe they were just doing something to promote the show or just bring controversy. They paid to be there.
Yes.
It is their choice. I've paid money to watch a cinema film.
And
I slept from beginning till the end. Why did they come kick me out? There are some unruly behavior
and
that people do. Honestly, that you can say, oh, they were unruly, they were making noise or breaking bottles or doing something to harm other fans. But you single them out, embarrass them. I'm very unhappy that she had to even come and tell us what was going on. She owed nobody any explanation. It was their money they paid. If I was them, I would be suing for my ticket money and the embarrassment that Burna caused. There are some decent way we can do these things, honestly. Except they turn around and tell me it's a publicity stunt. I would never think this is.
It's crass.
It's very disrespectful and humiliating. See how and people. I keep telling people, I say, the way people have lost their humanity.
The people that
so because you want
leave.
to enjoy a concert, you could let someone be humiliated like that, and all of you say, please leave.
Right.
We want to enjoy the concert.
But again, hold on. Sorry. Catherine has been trying to say something.
No. I've forgotten my line.
Wait, listen. let me say this first of all. First of all, our heart goes out to you, the lady, for losing the parent of your daughter, who is also a co-parent as well. That's a grief that I don't know how to explain it, because not only are you seeing your daughter grieve, but you're also seeing somebody who you parented a human being with. It's a very funny place to be at, and I can only imagine what she's going through at that time. And again, sorry for your loss. And to be fair to the other concert goers, right? He threatened that if they didn't leave,
he would not continue the concert.
Going to perform.
He had them turn off the lights.
Yeah, and if we know anything about Burna, he doesn't just give threats. He's going to do it. You know what I mean? And to be fair, she also noted in that tweet that they were waiting for him and he arrived late. And he's notorious for starting off his concert late or coming late to concert. That being said, we need to talk about the professionalism that comes with the job, right? And we need to talk about where you draw the line between engaging your fans and empathy, right? Too often, Burna Boy has blurred the lines, and I think somebody needs to call him out on it. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he seems to me like a person that doesn't heed advice.
He doesn't listen.
Or take advice or listen. And I wonder if, at the same time, there's somebody who is holding his hand and because there has to be someone who can talk reason to you. I don't feel like he has that. And unfortunately for him, he has the numbers, he has the clout, he has gone international. He's gone international. He can continue to get away with it. But there has to be a time where somebody has to, clamp down and be like, this is not okay. Okay, it can't work. So, I don't know if it's cancel culture. I don't know what it is, but something has to be. Someone has to give.
Okay, I hear you, Judith. Now, in this regard, with artists, they have it's almost like an untouchable persona that they all have.
Right.
And it's not only Burna that is in this
badly behaved.
No, it's not only Burna that is badly behaved. Artists have that, and I think because people feel that they're artists, there's a lot of leeway that's given to them. There's one of the reactions that said, "Oh, I can bet you it's because it's a black person." No. Burna would do it anyway.
Really.
Burna is but Burna Boy is a.
I want her to learn.
Trust me, Burna Boy is a very intelligent young man, and he knows most of the times he knows what he's doing. And because sometimes with the attainment of the level of success that you have, it comes with all the in quotes dirty breeze with the blue, and so you feel that to an extent it can command and just do what it is that you think works for you, because that is your stage, that is your show. Having said that, You see, there are different ways that artists connect to their audience. Another artist would have gone up to the lady and said, "What's up, baby?
Yeah.
What's going on with you?" You understand?
Am I boring you?
Do you
Yeah,
get?
I don't
be very boring. Yeah.
So different artists have that about them. Thames was in a concert, multiple concerts, and she was seen, interacting with her audience. Everyone's different. But like Judith says, this is a Burna Boy. He has the numbers, he has the clout, and the truth is, in this business, no publicity is bad publicity. Burna Boy one thing I know for certain is that if he dishes it out to A, he will dish it out to B.
So are we supposed to cuddle him for it?
No, I'm saying that he's not the only one.
I want to take that
now
tweet.
because they're bringing in the numbers. Sorry, darling. Because they're bringing in the numbers.
But
do you understand?
There is no artist that is a major artist that is a world number one without the fans.
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't mean that you should throw.
One.
Do you know we are celebrities?
Wait.
Do you know what I take sometimes from celebs? The way they pull your dress, I know they are happy to see you.
Right.
So sometimes I have to just hold myself and allow them wash over me because of how they're feeling.
Yeah, but
what does it mean you should pull them down?
There was a first-hand account that said that Burna was not feeling fine. I remember she's a bookish. She's a bookstagrammer. I've forgotten her name now. She's from the Caribbean, and she was saying that when she was on set, when she was at the venue, that he took a while to come out, and when he came out, he put out a disclaimer that he was under the weather, that he wasn't feeling fine, he wasn't feeling too well. And I think not to absorb Burna, but also to be fair and balanced, he could be going through maybe one of those.
So wait, so if he expected fans to understand with him,
what does he understand
not feeling well,
that
paid, he came out late, and fans that came out to see him that paid, I would expect that you should also understand. You see, at the end of the day, when the fans were sitting down and waiting, just as she said that, they didn't know what Burna was going through. As she was sitting down and waiting, Burna didn't know what she was going through. And I dislike artists who behave bad. I have been to
that means
show.
You're going to dislike all the artists.
Remember
I told you
last year we were on this table last year.
In fact, the bunny ladies told me one particular artist took their money, like 40 million. I just won't mention because they didn't give me the right. And they said because of some altercation about flight, maybe with his team. Do you know he didn't go for their concert?
So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of bad behavior that's
not
outside
something we should endorse.
Even in December last year, when we sat on this table and we talked about people who have concerts, artists that have concerts and still appear, they come 4 hours late, they come 5 hours late, and the audience is still waiting for them. Now I'm coming to the accountability part. Thank God for digital media now, social media, everything is out on social media, and then there's social media justice. Could you imagine, or would you imagine that if, like this December 2025, people pay to see our artist, and the artist does not respect the fact that people come out? Would you imagine what would happen to that artist if you came out and then 3/4 of your audience is
I've always said it.
What then will the artist?
So because of the work we all do, because of the work we all do, over the years we've been privileged to go to numerous events. Whether a lot of them we did not pay for, but I don't care. As long as I'm there, I use my time to appreciate you. So I need to put that disclaimer. Someone will say, "Did you people pay for it?" No. But regardless of that, we've been privileged to go to so many events. Do you know how many events start late? We'll be on the table. Artists will I've slept up on my husband's shoulder, waiting for a show to start. You will put 8 o'clock. You'll say that red carpet is 6 to 7, 8. You put 8 o'clock. So that starts at 12. People will stay. It is the audacity that Nigerian artists have had from Nigeria when there were no consequences that they've carried abroad. They've carried it abroad.
It's a bad behavior. We cannot continue. I know many artists that have no regard for their fans, and I'm like, all of us are artists. I'm an actor. Imagine you paid me to be on your set for this X amount of time, and I come 7 hours late. God. Do you know you have kept everybody waiting? You have wasted half of the money. The people there, that are waiting for you. We have to behave
Are we
better.
really going
We have
down?
to behave
About
better.
2 years ago where his event was late. I don't know who the artist was, that the event was late, and then I think it was for Madison Square or one of the gardens, I can't remember. And then because he had extended the time, they were
had to
like,
pay
"We're not
extra, they're
threatening."
shutting off the lights or something.
And it's like,
Yes.
so then there was a whole thing going on. So there's also that as well. And I think that this has to go into our artistry development. Big shout out to the guys, Maven, all the other guys who have been doing the best in terms of, continue to bring out the new generation of artists for Afrobeat.
But teach
That doesn't mean
and
that.
they're doing that. They need to teach them value for time and respect for their fans.
And artistry
The
development,
public,
like
the audience, the audience has to hold them
We need to
accountable.
go.
and bring
I'm
them
not
in.
beyond burner. Today is Monday. I don't want to burn
We'll
the
do
station.
it again before the end of the year.
We don't want to burn the studio down for burner. Anyway, we need to move on because we have a very important conversation about to come. Nigeria has decided to reverse the mother tongue teaching policy, a move that's already sparking major conversations about learning, identity, and the future of education. When Jasiri continues, Dr. Joy Issa, president of the Issa School of Education, will join us to break down this clearly and thoughtfully. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back to
We will not burn down this studio. It's a lot like today.
Oh my God. You want me to do it for you?
At the 2025 Language in Education International Conference in Abuja, the Minister of Education in Nigeria, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced a major reversal in national education policy, and the federal government has officially cancelled the 2022 mother tongue policy and reinstated English as the primary language of instruction from pre-primary all the way to tertiary institutions. Now, what exactly was the 2022 mother tongue policy? It was a national directive that required children from early childhood education through primary 6 to be taught in their mother tongue or in the language of their immediate community. And the goal was to strengthen indigenous languages, improve comprehension, and help children learn in a language that felt natural and familiar. However, according to the minister, regions that adopted the mother tongue approach were strongly recording widespread underperformance in WAEC, NECO, and JAM, along with weaker English proficiency, a skill still considered essential for higher education and global competitiveness.
This reversal has sparked national discussions about language, identity, access, and the actual roots of Nigeria's education challenges. And today we want to dig into it. Joining us to do that is Dr. Joy Issa, a teacher, education consultant, and president of the Issa School of Education. Now, with decades of experience in curriculum design, teacher training, and educational leadership, she brings expertise and insight into how policies like this shape classrooms and learners across the country. Dr. Issa, it's always good to have you with us. Welcome back to Jasiri. And happy belated birthday from all of us.
Happy
Good morning,
birthday.
everyone. Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Issa, I think it's a good thing for us to sort of set a foundation for this conversation in terms of where this all started from. Can you explain what the 2022 mother tongue policy actually entailed and what its goals were? And we can remind people that this came under the former Minister of Education, Adamu.
That policy really stems from, should I say, research from UNICEF that said at the time, children learn best when they gain formal instruction via the language they're comfortable with. So the goal is that whatever language you were speaking at home, the first words, the language you use to engage with your family should be the same language used to engage with in formal education. Nigeria is peculiar because most of us we're multilingual. Yep. So your language at home may be a variation of Igala, and your language in your community might be Idoma, or might be Tiv, or might be Hausa. And so you now come to school, and based on that policy, if that policy is to be implemented effectively, it means you should be taught in Igala, the variation of Igala. We know that Nigeria has about 300 languages plus. So yeah, there was going to be a challenge with implementation of that policy in the first place. But what the then minister, Professor Adamu said was the language of the environment. So if the main language is Hausa, then learn in Hausa because you would have learned that at home, you would have picked that with your friends, etc. In theory, it is correct. It is absolutely correct. You gain deep levels of conceptual understanding in your first language. In practice, however, it is difficult to implement in Nigeria. So I appreciate our current minister, Dr. Tijani, saying, let's go back to English because our children cannot be underperforming. And then we just continue with a policy that is hard for us to implement as a nation. So in theory, yes, children learn best with mother tongue from using the mother tongue language. Understanding will be deeper. But that is when they have a teacher who's qualified to teach in that language. And then, they're able to implement. Imagine me. So my family is from different places. My dad is Benin, my mom is Benue, my husband is Adamawa. I've lived around 14 states in Nigeria. I currently live in Lagos. And you want me to teach in Yoruba? I don't speak Yoruba.
And
it's going to be a tall order.
Right, a tall order indeed, because one has to ask about, the research and data and what it says about teaching children in their mother tongues. I mean, we now understand why the government originally thought that it was okay. It was sort of a step in the right direction to teach our children, our young kids in their local language rather than English. But now, let's also look at the data behind it and whether or not we have enough material in terms of curricula to teach that if it was to work.
We don't have enough teachers trained in instruction in those languages. That's the fundamental issue. Our teacher training colleges, for example, teach us to teach in English. We're fundamentally teachers of English because that is the medium of instruction. So if I am expected to teach in Yoruba, it means I have a good understanding of Yoruba to the extent that I can read it, write it, discuss education content in Yoruba, and then I can teach it to children. So therein lies the issue. Unless I studied Yoruba education, I cannot teach in Yoruba. I can teach in English. So going back to just that simple, basic data, are our teacher training colleges educating our teachers to teach in mother tongue languages? No. So that decree or that directive in 2022 would have taken a lot of time to even implement. We don't necessarily have that much time because the learning loss keeps increasing. Our children are underperforming in WAEC and in NECO and BECA and these, standardized assessments. But if we circle back all the way, how many teachers, how many of us, you and I, how many of us read and write in our mother tongues? How many of us? Let's start from there, simple, basic information. If we can't do that, then we can't really be expected to teach in that language. And so how are we saying that we're providing world-class international standard education to our children? If we go to countries like in Asia, for example, let's use Asia, because that's the most popular one. Teacher training, your education is done in your first language, in your national language, and then you acquire English as an additional language. The lingua franca of Nigeria has always been English. And then we have our regional, should I say, the big three, right? The big regional languages. So if the lingua franca has always been English, then we should be teaching our children English. Small caveat though, Nigeria has become a more modern society. And so you have fewer parents at home. Usually you acquire your first language at home. Your mom is available, grandma's available, there's someone available. But with urbanization, so many people are moving into the cities, there isn't enough time for community development. And so a lot of us are losing our first languages or our mother tongues. Why then would I go to school and that will be the medium of instruction? So there are too many cons and not enough pros for us to continue with this first language or mother tongue policy. And so I fully align with the minister. I think it's abrupt, by the way.
Yes.
I think there should have been time given. But yeah, it
That's
is a step
joy.
in the right direction.
You know, every time we talk to you and when it concerns education, even we are instructed. Because when I first heard this policy, I was like, I was off my ears. But when they said we're going to have a conversation with Dr. Joy on Monday, I calmed down because I know I'll gain a better insight, and I'm totally instructed. I just want to know, because you've already answered the question I would have asked you. I want to know, ma'am, are there children being taught with the mother tongue? Because I schooled in Ijebu, and I was not taught in my mother tongue. And in Ijebu, it's Ijebu. We have Ijebu variations of Ijebu, and I can honestly tell you that I was taught with English language. Because if this is something that we're discussing, I have never met, or maybe it's just an hypothetical thing in our head, that there are some children being taught mathematics in Igala or being taught physics using Igbo language. I have never seen it. So I'm a bit like, are you talking about something hypothetical here?
Oh, no, not at all. What used to happen actually before the then minister Adamu gave his directive, mother tongue was instituted till primary 3, if I remember correctly. So it wasn't all the way to secondary school at all. You could do that in lower primary, and then you had to transition to English language. So primarily in the North, a lot of my initial teacher training happened in the North, and yes, the children are being taught in mother tongue, most of the spaces. In more rural communities where you don't have access to qualified teachers for all the subjects, yes, children are being taught in their mother tongue. And the reason is simple. They will understand better when you teach them in their mother tongue. It makes sense. Unfortunately, they're not going to be assessed in their mother tongue. So it goes back to standardized assessments or standardization. Yeah. For me to understand deeply, explain it in my first language, that's fine. But then you have to translate it into the language that I will use to show or to demonstrate my understanding. So that balance is required. You can't just expect me to learn in my mother tongue and then assess me in English. No, that's an unfair system. And if I'm going to be assessed in English, then you have to step back the language of instruction. By the way, children can learn multiple languages at the same time. They can learn up to 6 languages, and they will not mix up the registers. Unless maybe they have any neurological delay or disorder, then yes, you would say, no, don't introduce other languages, just stick to English. But children can learn, they will speak to this one in Hausa, they'll speak to this one in English, they'll speak to this one in Pidgin, they'll speak to that one in Yoruba. Children learn, up to 5, 6 languages in early years. And so that again is the opportunity. Introduce the languages, let them learn. So they know the language they speak at home, they know the language they speak in school. That is fine. We have I'm trying to be careful with this one. We have a very serious issue across the political divides, the geopolitical zones in our country.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I said, and I'll say it again, up north, there are too many children still being taught in mother tongue. Wow. And that is why we can see the literacy levels are much lower.
Okay. Let's start getting into some of the challenges that this policy has faced since its implementation. So we know that in the country we have so many languages. Was it then realistic for all schools to teach in children's native languages?
Yeah, well, that's the dilemma of Nigeria, having such a multicultural, multi-ethnic community. While in practice, in theory, yes, it is ideal, but it's not practical for a country as diverse as ours to implement. Again, that's why I said earlier, English is the lingua franca of Nigeria. And so we should have just stuck with deepening even the teachers' level of English. Can I just say, the number of the teachers themselves? I'm sorry.
Dr. Issa, as soon as you said, I just remember Captain had his snack. Captain had had a story she shared with us about a snare.
Exactly.
And you come home and child is saying something completely different based on the
And you're
teacher's
wondering what
English.
school you paid school fees to send your child to.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
It's a snack.
So if the teacher's
like-
use of English is limited, where are we going from here? So let's support the teachers, even with this policy, for example. Okay, now the dear minister has said everybody teach in English.
Yeah.
If I was teaching in Yoruba or in Igbo in my rural community, all of a sudden you now expect me to, so Jack and Jill, you know, like, where are we going? Where's the time to support? Where's the time to support the people? Where's the time to translate some of those lovely traditional stories that teach good values into English? Where's the time for the publishers to say, okay, these books that are there, let's use them. It takes time to implement changes. So this idea of just up and go, we're not in a military regime. We need to provide time for educators to do a good job.
All right,
We
so
can't just,
having said that, Dr. Issa, having said that, let's take it, I mean, we can't negate the fact that having to deal with WAEC, NECO, and all of that, then what about the feedback when it comes to what does this reversal really mean for students, teachers, you understand, and the future in Nigeria? What do you make of the minister's statements in regards to the regions that embraced mother tongue teaching the most? And do you think mother tongue is actually the issue here? Seriously?
well, okay, let me answer the question this way. Number one, yes, instruction in mother tongue yields the best results in terms of deep levels of understanding. Nigeria has a peculiar problem. Our mother tongue is usually different from the language predominantly used in the environment. And because of our mobility and urbanization, people do not reside in the space where they speak their mother tongue. So we have that peculiar situation. In countries where the mother tongue, they just have maybe 2 or 3 languages, some of them up to 6. They implement these policies at the drop of a hat, and it goes on. English is taught as an additional language, and children are assessed in English. In our situation, Nigeria, our teachers are taught in English, and they are taught to teach in English. They're not taught to teach in Yoruba, or to instruct in Igala, or to instruct in Nupe, in Bini. So that is the fundamental issue. Reversing this policy, I think, will help us improve our output in terms of our student attainment. It will help us move forward. We have to step back and think the data on literacy levels is still very, very poor.
Yeah.
The average literacy level up north is still under 20%. In the south, its average is about 78% or so, with states like Lagos hitting 92%. I think it's Enugu who has highest 94, 95. I can't remember the exact numbers now. But that disparity is still wide. So in order for us to bridge that gap as a nation, it is important for us to find ways to basically bridge the gap. So paying attention to literacy levels becomes a priority for the Minister of Education. And in order to do this, yes, literacy has to become the language of instruction. We need to do all we can. Adult education, supplementary literacy. In fact, I think in every NCE, every teacher's training college, literacy, there should be remediation for English. Because remember that a number of these people scored 100 in JAM to go into NCE.
Yes.
Let's remember that conversation. So it means the English entry point was already low. So can we have remediation? Let's do English, use of English in NCE or in BEd. Let's do, English as a study, and then layer on whatever educational practices we want to layer on. If we don't do this, we will not have an informed citizenry. We'll keep having people jackpine because of better opportunities.
So, as we said earlier, this policy was launched by former Education Minister Adamu, who had argued then that children learned more effectively in their mother tongue. At the time, Adamu argued that pupils grasp concepts more readily when taught in their own mother tongue, a view that was supported by numerous UN studies on early childhood education. And I just have to wonder if we didn't set students and ourselves up to fail in this situation. Because you've mentioned it now, but let's talk a bit about it more. How many certified teachers do we even have for our local languages? Or languages beyond Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa? What were the textbooks? Where were they? When were they last updated? So I struggle to believe this is more an issue of mother tongue failing the students versus us not planning well for the mother tongue instruction policy. Shouldn't we have had a plan in place to implement this maybe over 5 years after reaching certain requirements? As you said, making sure that you have enough teachers going through different languages in NCE, along with the English remedial parts of it as well. So we did this policy, we abruptly implemented it, we are reversing this policy, abruptly doing the same thing. So are we really, is it really a mother tongue issue? I'll come back to what Kat asked, or is it an issue of Nigeria planning to fail with this type of situation?
You know, sometimes we say Nigeria happens to us, right? This is another situation of Nigeria happening. And it happens because our Ministry of Education is tied to political movements. If we had, should I say, a unique, partially independent Ministry of Education where policies, changes and all could be implemented over 5 to 10 year periods, then we'll be able to see changes. Abroad, in countries like the UK, for example, you don't change curriculum till 5 years. You wait. You give notice periods. So for curriculum changes, if for 2027, you give notice this year and say, this is what is going to happen. We're going to roll out with maybe junior secondary first, then we'll roll out to primary. There is time. Our challenge is the abruptness of our political situation. So interventions don't seem to transcend political parties. So if the ruling party is favored, or if the minister is favored from a ruling party, if another party comes in, gone. And the fact that a minister has changed does not mean the policies should be changed. Because a policy should be followed through. So that it's a Nigeria problem. It's a governance problem that is not necessarily peculiar to the Ministry of Education. It's Nigeria.
Well, the Linguistic Association of Nigeria strongly opposed the reversal. In fact, they called the 2022 policy a pedagogical necessity and warning that removing it will be a major setback. By pedagogical, big English, they say basically that the mother tongue teaching is a required approach or strategy in teaching and learning that is very crucial for students' success and effective education. So where do we stand on whether mother tongue language is a necessity in our teaching curriculum? Because I know how long it took you and your team and everyone to even get us to this new curriculum level. So, how do we now want to include or remove this mother tongue situation?
Pedagogy is one thing, and it refers to how you teach. Language acquisition is a separate thing. You acquire language in your home, at home first, before you go to school. So you don't necessarily need to go to school to acquire language. I hear what the Linguistic Society is saying, and it is true. A lot of us do not speak our native language, as it were. Again, because of urbanization and movement. So I speak Hausa because that's where I spent my teenage years the most. I don't speak either of my parents' first native languages because, like, first of all, they were from two different spaces, so they spoke English to each other. So we learned English by default. And we didn't have so many relatives living in. So I can gossip in in my native, I can pick, like we say, the gossip, but I cannot speak it confidently. I don't really understand when people speak to me. But I speak Hausa. Because I went to university in Jos, I picked Hausa as an elective. I can read it to a certain extent. That is language acquisition over time. That's what the Linguistic Society is worried about. We will end up losing our indigenous languages if we do not highlight them, if we don't teach our children, if we don't propagate them. Agreed. That is not the unique, exclusive responsibility of schools. You go to school to be literate, numerate, digitally competent, gain some entrepreneurial skills, some social skills, and things like that. And yes, learn different languages, experience different cultures. That can be value added. But fundamentally, if you don't understand what you're reading, what you're learning at deep levels, you're not going to pass those standardized exams. So take me as a case in point. My father was in the military. So like I said, I have lived in 14 states in Nigeria across the country. So I went to 3 primary schools and 3 secondary schools. So I remember Ibadan, the school in Ibadan. I remember the school in Enugu, and then we moved to Lagos. So I would have learned a bit of Yoruba, then gone to continue Igbo, then where would I have been by now? Probably thoroughly confused. But because English was the thread, and English being my first language at home, that helped me, ensure I could understand. So I think we need the balance. We shouldn't take away language acquisition from parents, because parents are the first teachers. Whatever language you teach your children is what they will learn. However, school is school. It is called formal education for a reason. And so if that's the formal language we're going to use, then the pedagogy around it, all the pedagogical strategies, etc., should be done in that formal language, so that our children are global citizens. We have to be able to compete globally. Look at Asians, look at Indians, look at Arabs. They're all learning English so that they can compete on the global market. We can't set ourselves back because we're losing our indigenous languages. Let's promote the use of these languages in our homes.
Doctor, I made an argument for this and about, languages need to remain at home. But also, there's also been arguments on whether or not, teaching the mother tongue, using the mother tongue in teaching in schools has, eradicated parents when it comes to language acquisition, right? And so let's widen the scope now and look at our curriculum in its entirety, right? We've seen a lot of changes happen to the curriculum in just the last 2 years. Removal and implementation back of history, removal and implementation of the use of, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. I was saying that let's just widen the scope and look at the curriculum itself, whether for junior, senior secondary, or even the primary school and nursery, right? We've seen the changes that's happening with our curriculum from last year to this year. It's now from the removal of history to reintroduction, mathematics and non-mathematics, teaching of English language and, the use of mother tongue and all of that. And so one has to look at, the students itself, whether or not, learning in their mother tongue or not learning in their mother tongue. What happens to our curriculum in its entirety? And why have we not been able to be steadfast in just keeping a historic curriculum and making it stay for as long as 10 years or even further, and seeing what the pros and cons are before we can now restructure or remove and impute? But most importantly, let's look at the urban areas as well. You are in the sector. You're out there on the fields. For those who have started teaching in mother tongue, and now with the removal, what would it mean for their performance as well? Also for those who have been learning in the rural areas and now going to start being learned, start being taught in English language. What would it mean for their performance as well? So let's look at performance, but also the curriculum and why we cannot stick to one structure.
Let me start with the second part and look at performance. Performance will be changed over time. That is the truth. So if I was teaching in Yoruba and you suddenly tell me to teach in English, there's no way I will switch tomorrow and start teaching in English. I will introduce English words, vocab, and little by little make the transition. So as much as the minister has given a directive, it cannot be implemented immediately. It will take time. School principals, school head teachers need to, track that implementation over time, and to be able to say, yes, our children are beginning to learn in English. We have to put training in place. Those things happen over time, and every school will do what they need to do to follow the directive and not lose their children. Back to the curriculum topic. Curricula get changed over time implementation is not immediate. Our ministries are too politically, should I say, too tied to political changes. And so in 2027 is coming up. Who knows who will be the minister? Who knows? And then who knows what new changes will be implemented, which is why I suggested again, can something like the curriculum, can we have 10-year plans? Can we have 5-year plans? Can we have extended plans that are not directly tied to political appointments? So these are separate and governed by, you have NCCE, you have NUT. So those bodies should be in charge of curriculum and should own it. So the ministry is providing guidance, maybe guardrails, funding for training and things like that. But when you look at broad changes should be made on research and data.
Right.
This minister, I must agree with this minister, the data is great. All that digging has unearthed the things we've been talking about, that look, let's stop teaching antiquated, topics and make the topics more relevant, more modern. That's fine. It would be great if this new curriculum is given at least 5 years to ventilate.
Right.
Let's explore. Let the textbooks be republished. Let the exams be rewritten. Let's test this curriculum. Then we'll have enough data to say, yes, this is how far it has gone. This is how well it has worked. These are the areas for improvement. And then we continue that cycle. That would be a dream, an ideal situation.
Right. Years back, there was a paper on students who were in the Boko schools, or the Boko Haram schools, that was introduced by Goodluck Jonathan in his administration. What we saw was that they were teaching both Arabic and English language. And so whenever they were writing, they would write from left to right, or right to left, I beg your pardon. And they were mixing words and their alphabets with the Arabic. And so there's young kids between 5 and I think about 7 or 8. We're looking at what the thing is. So looking at the education system, Nigeria's education system in its entirety, there's so much that's facing it. One of them is poor quality teaching, like you've said. Another is inadequate materials and even low pay for teachers. And let's not get started with the strikes. And although 85% of children go to primary school, less than half complete their secondary school education. And some 10 million children out of school in Nigeria alone, and more than even in other countries. So, and this is according to the UN. And so the policy has been controversial from the start, and many have praised the reversal, like yourself and myself, while others believe that the policy was abandoned prematurely. And so they argue that such a significant shift requires substantial investment in teacher training, the development of textbooks, and even learning materials, and a longer time frame before it can be fairly judged and begin to bear fruit. And so, Dr. Issa, I have to ask you, where do we go from here? What's the future for us?
I think the future is in the direction the minister has gone, really. As much as mother tongue instruction does yield good results, does yield deep levels of understanding, Nigeria is a very diverse community. We have too many mother tongues, if you will. And so the language of instruction in mother tongue then becomes a fundamental challenge for us as a nation. If you say the language of the environment in northern Nigeria is Hausa, once I drop down south a little bit, then you have set me up to change. I have to now go and start being taught physics in Igbo, for example. It then means we can't be as flexible or as fluid. It means people have to stay in their regions because they want their children educated. So if a father, for example, has a more lucrative job opportunity in the north and he's Igbo, he can't move there or he can't move his family because the languages of instruction is going to be challenging. This is why having a lingua franca, English, for example, becomes beneficial for us as a nation. Number two, we cannot keep falling behind. Our literacy levels are way too low. We have to do something about them. Again, English becomes the medium of instruction. Just as a segue, literacy doesn't just mean English. Literacy means you can read and write in whatever language it is. So look at literacy levels. How many of us can read and write Yoruba? How many of us can read and write our mother tongues? We're not taught formally, if you will, in mother tongues. I can learn Yoruba as maybe a club, extracurricular, but as an adult, I don't know of any Yoruba school. Okay, well, Duolingo now has, our languages, which is great. But in terms of becoming an instructor, can I go and learn I speak Hausa, but can I teach, can I do my teacher training in Hausa? Definitely not. I will so struggle. So let's help our community. Let's help our nation dimension this. Keep the languages, the mother tongues. Parents, please teach your children the languages. Communities, the faith-based communities, use the local languages. But for formal education, let's use English as a medium of instruction and have the local language as additional languages. Because the truth is, you're supposed to learn different languages.
Right.
We're surrounded by Francophone countries, so we learn French.
Yeah.
If the language of instruction in the community is Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, whatever it is, we learn those because children can acquire multiple languages. But as long as we are tested in English, we have to keep English as the language of instruction.
And the grammar structure is also going to be a problem as well, because if your grammar structure is subject before verb and object, and it's like, you know what I mean? Then how do you teach English then in second language? Because
your noun verb agreement also is a problem.
So there's a lot to it, because if you look at the grammar structure in terms of sentence construction in Yoruba or in Hausa or in my mother's tongue, which is in there, then you now say teaching English with that. How are you going to do it? It's hard.
English is description before noun, and then most of our languages give you the noun or the object and then describe.
So it's hard. It's hard.
As a teacher, we can do it actually. It's not that difficult if you're taught to. So I can teach French to a certain extent. And yes, the verb tenses, verbs, nouns, and all. And sometimes, even when I'm trying to speak Hausa, I remember the French words first, just because I've learned more French in recent times. So yes, as an adult, you can, dimension it. And again, with children, though, they learn because they learn to speak a language before they learn to read and write it. So they hear the way this verb structure. So they don't know that they're saying a verb and a noun and this is the linguistic, arrangement or grammatical. No, they repeat what they hear.
Yeah.
So they acquire the language and the grammatical structures before they learn to read and write it.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Joyce. It's always a pleasure, to join us and to have you talk to us. What the heck?
We're going now.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. Dr. Issa, she's the president of the Issa School of Education, giving us a bit of insight as the federal government has now dropped the policy for teaching in local languages. Once again, Dr. Issa, thanks so much for coming on. Pretty much it's been Jasiri for you for a Monday morning. It's all about education. It's non-stop. We'll be back tomorrow. Ladies, you want to say goodbye?
No, we have said goodbye.
We're already bye.
Bye-bye.